Honestly, I don't think there's many people who have created so many streams of income with their art. Look at this. YouTube, digital assets, t-shirts, jumpers, art boxes, books, Skillshare, the list goes on. But when so many creatives don't succeed in making one stream of income work, what's the secret? I went back through 10 years of YouTube content and found some really weird shit.
Yep, thank you. Let's get started, shall we?
But I also found 3 things I think Jezza is absolutely nailing. And without these 3 things, I don't think there's really any chance of creating income from your passion. So let's go back and look at the first thing I think you need for success. Oh, and quick side note, there's going to be times in this video where we look back on Jezza's career and see stuff like this, which he drew when he was 15 years old. Now, for most people, that provokes a feeling of, well, what's the fucking point? This guy's obviously naturally talented. Of course he was going to be successful. No point even trying. And quite obviously, that's not a great feeling to have and can stop us pursuing our passions, which is why I made this. And you might be asking, who are these people? This is Cuban-American artist Carmen Herrera, who sold her first piece of artwork at the age of 81. Stan Lee, who you might recognize, creator of Spider-Man, published his first hit comic book in 1961 when he was 38 years old. And after 20 years in the US Air Force, Bob Ross taught himself to paint and became everyone's favorite art teacher, obviously excluding Jezza, at the age of 41. Basically, it's never too late to pursue your passion. Never. Okay, enough of that motivational bullshit. Josiah Allen Brooks, otherwise known as Jezza, apparently named from his year 6 email address, always had a love for art, but it wasn't until he was 17 that he would unlock the first thing that would really propel him to success. He used to make flash animations, and these were stick figures who would fight and fart on each other. Nice. He'd post these to a site called sticksuicide.com, but he really had his eyes on a website called Newgrounds. This is where all the high quality animation was. And when I say high quality animation, I mean stuff like this. But there were some very talented people on this site, and you could get paid for posting. He ended up posting on Newgrounds with some animations and even some games he made when he was 17 years old. Yeah, I think it's time for that. It's never too late. But in doing this, he started to get some attention. And since then, Jezza has experimented with pretty much every platform. Tumblr, Twitter, Patreon, Instagram, YouTube for over 10 years, I think. So he must have been pretty certain that putting his work out in the world would eventually make him passive income. But just a quick one on the term passive income. It's a bit of a clickbait word on YouTube, and I myself am guilty of using it, and for obvious reasons. I mean, who wouldn't want to make money from doing nothing? But as we all probably know, that's not really the case. I like to think of passive income as money that's not directly tied to our time. So, for example, you write and publish a book. You've done the work once, and now every time you sell a copy of that book, you get paid. And the same can be said for all of these types of income. So posting on these platforms was all part of building an audience, and it's impossible to create passive income from your creativity without an audience. But the next point can completely stop you in your tracks, and it's probably the reason why over 80% of creatives don't really end up monetizing their passion. Let's quickly whiz back on the Jezza timeline. In this video, he shows us a comic book strip he had created when he was hoping to become a comic book artist for the local paper. In the same video, he shows us a how to draw book he created when he was 12. Yeah. Then he went on to build games, and they're still running on Newgrounds. He created an animated series on there. He even used to post cover songs and original music he had written. But looking back on these things, what would you call a fail? the fact that he didn't end up with his comic books in the local paper, or that he didn't become a full-time game designer, or the fact that he didn't become a famous musician. A classic business phrase is fail fast, meaning every business is likely to fail at some point, and it's just part of the process. But I wonder if he thought any of these things were failures. Creating a book on how to draw faces and characters, you could say, led on to his tutorials online. Being involved in game development has led him to build mobile apps, and his music, well, has allowed him to do stuff like this.
But mostly me.
Fair play, mate. Failure should be celebrated, or maybe not even looked at as failure. But this next point is probably the most important, but the most difficult thing to achieve throughout your whole career. I mean, honestly, go back and look at some of these first videos. This guy is laughing and smiling and doing stupid shit, and he obviously loves what he's doing, regardless of what point he was at. And that's obviously the last point, but I'm gonna let you hear it from Jezza 2013.
If you've been miserable in the last 10 years trying to make money, why waste those 10 years? Whereas if you've done okay and you've kind of scraped the barrel and you've loved it, best 10 years ever. And that's the way I feel, and that's the way I approach it.
Enjoy the journey. If you can enjoy the journey, the two other points almost become irrelevant. Building an audience happens naturally. Failure is definitely not looked at as failure. And no matter how successful you are, you've enjoyed it. And hopefully that resonates with some people, but I'm certain there'll be some people thinking, enjoy the journey. Sake, you made me watch a 6-minute video and it comes down to enjoy the journey. Useless, utterly useless. And I have to say, I kind of agree with you. Although these mindset principles are ultimately the thing that hold you back, and without them, there's literally no chance of success, those videos have to be paired with step-by-step actionable information that you can do now, which is why I've started putting them out alongside these videos. But there is going to be a lot more. So if that's something you're interested in, please stick around.